Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what I have for you guys today is going to be the return of our championship score prediction. So thank God the international break has now finished and we are back to having some championship football. And it's actually coming at us pretty thick and fast, of course. This video is coming a day earlier than normal, as of course we do have the majority of our games going on Friday. And then on Monday as well, we've got a whole nother fixture list of championship games coming our way. So luckily for us, the championship is now getting into full action, and this week to predict, we've got some pretty good games. So of course, this is a series where I give you guys my score predictions. FIFA 18 also makes their score predictions, but what I'm of course interested to know is what you guys have to say. So in the description down below, I will leave all this week's fixtures so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. And then if you do successfully manage to get any of them correct, I will include your comment at the start of the next video, guys. So without further ado, let's just jump into them. So our first game to go ahead and predict sees Millwall going up against Nottingham Forest. So quite an interesting one to go ahead and start it out with. You know, Millwall, I feel like now they can just go into the games now for the rest of the season, feeling no pressure really, of course. They're currently sat at just 4 points beneath 6th place and chasing the playoffs, and realistically no one anticipates them to make it. So if they do manage to do the unseeable really and sneak into it, then they've not really got any pressure to go ahead and sneak into that spot. Going up against Nottingham Forest though, not going to be the easiest game in the world. You know, Nottingham Forest in their last 5 matches, they've drawn 3 and won 2. One thing you'd say about them under Karanka is he has made them quite a hard side to beat. You know, under Warburton, defensive mistakes were quite common. Karanka's slowly been seeping that out of Nottingham Forest's game, so I don't think that Millwall will have this one all their own way, but realistically, with their unbelievable home record and the unbeaten run they're on at the moment, I am going to back Millwall for the 1-0 home victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll also be 1-0. Our next game then sees Barnsley going up against Bristol City, of course. Two sides who are chasing two different things this season, of course. Barnsley looking for just safety, really. They're currently sat just above the relegation zone, and realistically, the only reason why they've not been dragged into that is because the teams below them haven't really been able to capitalise on Barnsley's poor form. But with Birmingham seemingly maybe turning a corner under Gary Monk, it's going to be important for Barnsley to make use of their home games from now until the end of the season, of course. Bristol City themselves, they've been quite inconsistent really ever since the cup run that they went on. They've not really been able to put down a consistent run of games in the championship. So now that that's all behind them, they've had a rest for the international break, you feel like Bristol City will be wanting to get back to their best in this one. And I do see this one being quite an open game, quite an attacking game really. You know, Barnsley this season, they have been creating quite a few chances in the games I've seen them play. They've just not been very clinical with them, and I feel like this game could be heading in a similar direction. So for this one, I'm going to back Bristol City for the 2-1 away victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be a 0-0. Our next game then sees Brentford going up against Sheff Utd, and in and around that top 6, it is so tight at the moment. Sheff Utd are another one of the teams who are currently just 2 points away from the playoffs, and with some of the other big teams playing each other this weekend, this is a massive opportunity for a team like Sheff Utd to go ahead and sneak into that 6th place. But going away to Brentford, it's not going to be an easy game. You know, Brentford at home this season have been very good, especially going forward. I think they could cause this United defence a couple of problems in this one. As well as that, Sheff Utd recently, they have been a little bit inconsistent with some of their performances. You know, they tend to go quite up and down really, and there isn't much of an in-between with them. But for this one, I actually think this one could be heading towards a draw, actually. Brentford, I think they're a bit too far away now from the playoffs to be feasible candidates for them, but even so, I think they're still going to put in a performance for this one, and I do see this one finishing as a 1-1 draw. So I'm going to back a draw. FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 United. Then we see Cardiff going up against Burton Albion. So Cardiff at this point, pretty much all but guaranteed automatic promotion. I mean, it would take a pretty big stumble for them to go ahead and throw this away. Currently, they are 7 points ahead of Fulham in 3rd place, and they also have a game in hand on them. But they can't be taking the foot off the gas all this early in the season. You know, going up against this Burton Albion side, you get the impression that if one goes in for Cardiff, then you could have that snowball effect where quite a few others go in, you know. Burton Albion, of course, at this point in time, sat 2nd bottom of the championship, not on a brilliant run themselves this season, and, you know, the contrast in form from them to Cardiff is obvious to see. But one thing I would say about Burton is I just want to see them attacking sides a bit more, you know, a bit more forward thinking and positivity really, because I feel like if they do sit back in this one and accept the inevitable, you know, it's not going to be too long before Cardiff get that first goal and then they could run away with it. So for this one, I am going to be backing Cardiff for the 3-0 home victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. Our next game then sees Leeds United going up against Bolton Wanderers. Leeds at the moment, you know, Paul Heckingbottom's definitely not found the right formula to get them ticking the way they want to be at the moment. You know, since he's come in, the performances haven't really improved. If anything, they've gone down a little bit. But going up against this Bolton side, once again, not going to be an easy game for them. Bolton have been quite impressed by some of their performances lately, of course. Before the international break, they went ahead and beat Aston Villa. And before that, they picked up some pretty good draws away from home as well. You know, that's one of the main reasons why they're currently sat comfortably above the relegation zone. You know, thinking back, like they had that last-minute equaliser against Sheff Wednesday to get a point in that game. And with them being quite hard to break down, and with Leeds not really firing on all cylinders at the moment and looking a bit short of confidence, I'm going to fancy Bolton to get a point from this one. So for this game, I'm going to fancy it to finish as a 1-1 draw, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Leeds. Our next game then sees Norwich going up against Fulham. Norwich are a side this season who I just can't really seem to work out. They'll have a succession of 0-0 draws and then suddenly they'll burst into life and James Maddison will score a first half hat-trick. You know, they scored 3 in their last game against Reading at home, but for the majority of the season they have fairly struggled for goals, especially at home this season. And when you consider they're coming up against an opposition like Fulham, I'm not sure how Norwich are going to approach this game really. You know, is Daniel Farke going to let the shackles loose of those attacking players and look to counterbalance Fulham and really go for this game? I'm not really too sure. It'll be interesting to see how Norwich play it for this one, but Fulham have to be the favourites going into this game, of course, with that current unbeaten run that they're boasting at the moment, of course. Their last game, a little bit of a disappointment, a draw against QPR, but even so, with the attacking prowess that they've shown this season and a couple of defensive errors recently from Norwich, I am going to back Fulham for the 3-1 away victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be a 0-0. Then we see Sheff Wednesday going up against Michael Preston North End in what is, you know, once again, it's a massive game for Preston really. We have to just keep these results turning over from now until the end of the season if we do want to have a chance of sneaking into the playoffs, of course. We're another one of those sides who is currently just 2 points away from the playoffs, so once again, you know, we do actually play Derby on Monday, which is going to be a massive game for us, but that's only going to matter if we go ahead and win this weekend. So going up against Sheff Wednesday, they are a bit of a funny side, you know, they've been pretty inconsistent this season, but in fairness to them, last week they did go ahead and beat Leeds by 2-1, so we can't be taking this game too lightly, of course. Preston, in the overall, you know, our last 10 or so games, we've been in very good form actually. We've been playing some nice football, and I am going to back us for the victory. We need to be going ahead and winning, but Wednesday, you just feel like they've got a bit of a trick up their sleeves, you know. I saw that Fernando Forestieri has been backing training for them, so hopefully he won't be appearing in this game, but even so, I'm going to go ahead and back Preston for the 2-1 away victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll be 1-0 Preston. And then we've got Middlesbrough going up against Wolves, so of course Middlesbrough are currently the side who occupies that 6th spot in the Championship, who has just got a load of teams below them who are chasing them and hunting them down, and they don't find an easy game this weekend going up against Wolves. But overall, you know, Middlesbrough lately, I have been quite impressed with them really. Ever since Tony Pulis has come in, they've seemed to be a lot more efficient with their performances, and with some of their forward-thinking players like Adama Traore and Patrick Bamford being on top form at the moment, they do have the potential to go ahead and hurt this Wolves squad, of course. Wolves recently, we've seen them bounce back to winning ways, of course. They went ahead and took down Burton Albion last week, albeit though when you look over their away record, you know, previously as well against the top 6, you know, we saw them lose to Aston Villa and lose to Fulham as well, so I don't think this is going to be an easy, it won't be a walk in the park for Wolves, definitely, but for this game I do actually see it heading towards a draw, so I'm going to go ahead and back this one to finish as a 1-1, whereas FIFA's saying it'll also be a 1-1 draw. Our next game then sees Reading going up against QPR. Now this is quite an interesting one, as of course this will be Paul Clement's first game in charge of Reading, and realistically he needs to be having an instant impact there, as they're only 3 points above the relegation zone, but it's not a brilliant game to have your first game as really. QPR are in a fantastic run of form, of course. Their last game against Fulham, they probably should have won that. They went ahead and drew that 2-2, and the game before that they went ahead and took down Aston Villa very convincingly, and the level of performance recently from QPR has been excellent. Going up against this Reading side who's probably going to lack an identity at the moment, I actually fancy QPR to once again carry on this run of form, so I'm going to back QPR for the 2-1 away victory, but it'll be interesting to see what style of play Paul Clement is looking for at Reading. But I'll say 2-1 QPR. FIFA same. 1-0 Reading. Then as the quarter to 8 kick-off on Friday, we actually see Derby going up against Sunderland, and it's actually been quite a few weeks now since Derby went ahead and picked up their last win, and you know, we've seen them drop a couple of points recently, which has allowed some of the teams below them to make up quite a bit of ground on them. But this is a big opportunity, and a pretty good one actually, for them to go ahead and get back to winning ways. Coming up against bottom of the table Sunderland. I mean, I was at the Stadium of Light the other week when Preston were playing them, and that Sunderland squad just looks so devoid of anything really. Confidence, creativity, it all seems washed away from them, you know. Even when we walked out against them, it looked like a defeated squad, and I feel like if Derby go ahead and grab an early goal in this game, I can't see a way back for Sunderland. So I feel like Sunderland will look to frustrate Derby for the large majorities of the game, but if Derby do manage to get back to winning ways, and if that forward line, you know, manages to get a couple of goals in this one, we could see confidence restored for them for the rest of the season. So for this one, I'm going to go ahead and back Derby for a 4-0 home victory, whereas FIFA's saying it'll just be 1-0 Derby. Our next game then sees Birmingham going up against Ipswich. Birmingham, of course, picked up a fantastic 3-0 home victory in their last game. They'll be hoping to repeat this in this game here today, which is actually taking place on Saturday. Going up against Ipswich, they're not in the best run of form at the moment. They've gone ahead and lost their last 2 games in the Championship. Mick McCarthy, though, he's that sort of manager when he doesn't tend to go on extended losing streaks. You know, he'll look to get a draw in between there just to steady the ship a little bit, and I get the impression this could be one of those games actually. Of course, the creativity that Birmingham managed to show in their last game was fantastic really. You know, players like Jota were showing so much more, getting into better positions, more attacking positions where they could hurt the opposition, and Gary Monk's going to need that from now until the end of the season. But for this one, I have that impression that it's heading towards a draw. I'm going to back this one to finish as a 1-1. FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Birmingham. And then our last game to go ahead and predict another one of the Saturday games. That sees Hull going up against Aston Villa. Now, Aston Villa, they've just had a bit of a train wreck really in their last 2 games, of course. They went ahead and had that fantastic performance against Wolves, and then they just couldn't follow up. They've, of course, lost their last 2 games in the Championship with 2 pretty lethargic performances. Going up against Hull, though, a side who is more or less towards the bottom of the Championship, they'll be looking to bounce back in this one, of course. Hull, in their last game, they were quite disappointing, really, losing 3-0 to Birmingham, considering before that they were actually playing very well. But their home record this season isn't the worst, and under Nigel Atkins as well, it's actually been alright for them. So I get the impression this one, there won't be too much in it, but with Aston Villa, they should show their quality in this one, you know. Surely they're going to bounce back from those 2 horror shows they've had previously. So for this one, I am going to back Villa to get back to winning ways with a 2-1 away victory, whereas FIFA's saying this one will finish as a 1-1 draw. So guys, there you have it. There are my Championship score predictions for this week. So of course, this video, like I said, is coming a bit early as we have most of the games going on Friday tomorrow, and I hope we do get a good weekend of Championship action. But like I said guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you subscribe for some regular Championship content. Your guys' support on all the videos lately has been absolutely crazy, so thank you so much for that. But like I said guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.